Hello and welcome to the Unstoppable Joy Podcast, a roadmap to a joy-filled life. I'm your host, Kathryn McAdam. I'm a nurse practitioner, author, and Christian speaker who has also experienced the heartache of marriage to a drug addict, divorce, single parenthood, and homelessness. Most of all, I'm an overcomer who can completely understand what you're going through and speak life into your situation. It's my desire to bring hope and encouragement that you too can live a life of unstoppable joy, no matter what life hands you. Now, I'm not here to give you pat answers or cliche scripture verses. I'm here to honestly share with you the mindset hurdles and the spiritual and emotional barriers I had to overcome in my journey to becoming a comeback. I believe as I share my story and those of my guests, you too will be able to find your unstoppable joy. So, pull up a chair, grab your favorite beverage, and let's get started. You know, this time of year, everybody's thinking about health and wellness, and as they make New Year's resolutions or just plans to do things a little bit differently this year to make a plan to be healthier. I wanted to repost this episode that I did a few months back on gut health. I am transitioning to having my own practice of functional medicine and to be able to help people with their health, and part of the journey towards finding joy in life is finding that health. It's been a journey for me to acquire my health and regain that after being so beat down mentally, emotionally, physically. I was just a wreck after my divorce, and that time of being really just under that abusive relationship really took a toll on my health. And so it's something I've been passionate about for quite some time. And I just wanted to reshare this episode with you all about gut health and its importance as I am embarking on a new journey this coming year of starting my own practice. If you want more information about how to be part of my practice and what I have to offer, go ahead, send me a message, and I would be glad to share with you the packages that I have available. Hope you have a great rest of your week and a great start to your new year, and that you enjoy this next episode. Be blessed. Hello, lovely souls. I'm so excited that you're here today. I have been dealing a lot in the office with people and talking about their stomachs. In particular, their guts. And nothing can spoil your day quicker than some gut issues. So I thought we'd talk about our guts and how to keep them healthy and how that relates to our joy in life, which you wouldn't think, but did you know that your gut has something to do with your mood? And I'm not talking about just when you have tummy troubles. I'm talking about the fact that there is somewhere between 70 to 95% of our serotonin, which is our feel-good chemical neurotransmitter, that is produced in our gut. And it is so crucial to our health and our immunity and our sleep and everything else. I thought it would be a good idea to talk about the good old gut today. So whenever somebody comes into the office and they want to be put on an antibiotic, I always encourage them to get on a probiotic. Well, what's a probiotic have to do with anything? So there are things in your gut called microbes, and there are good bacteria and there are bad bacteria, and there's a balance. There is a balance in your gut. And when you get diarrhea or constipation or like what we call the stomach flu, sometimes that is due to an imbalance in that flora, that gut biome that you have going on in your intestines. And so anytime you get on an antibiotic, it kills the good and bad bacteria, not just in your area where you're sick, whether that if you have an ear infection or if you have a sore throat or you have a bladder infection. It kills the good and bad bugs, good and bad bacteria that you have in your whole system. So what happens is some of these bugs, some of these microbes then get off balance. So you can have an overgrowth of the bad bacteria and or an overgrowth of yeast. So your body, inside and out, your skin has microbes on it, good and bad, and yeast. And so, like I said, if there are times where things get off balance, whether that is through a cut or ingesting something that has bacteria in it, or if your immune system just gets low, you will then kind of have a disruption of that balance. There's balances in nature all around us, and we'll talk about more of that on another episode. I love talking about water. It's one of my favorite things. But the gut biome, it is something that can easily be disrupted. And if you've ever taken an antibiotic and then ended up having some diarrhea or just some indigestion from, that is a sign that there is kind of that imbalance in the gut biome. And what they're finding is that delicate balance of your gut flora can affect your mood. It can affect your ability to heal. It can affect your ability to fight infection. And it also leads to what we may have heard. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called leaky gut syndrome. And basically it's where, because of stress and disruption of that delicate balance in your gut, that your gut then becomes more permeable, and you have basically toxins that your gut is supposed to be filtering out and processing along the way and eliminating. They can actually get into your bloodstream and cause some problems. So another part of that leaky gut syndrome is that inflammatory process. And so how do we get this gut of ours back in line? So, like I said, anytime somebody comes in and they are getting on an antibiotic, I always encourage people to get on a probiotic. So probiotics are things like lactobacillus, they're good cultures of good bacteria that we find in like yogurt and cottage cheese and kimchi and fermented foods like sauerkraut and like I said, kimchi. Kombucha is another source of this, and kefir, I believe, is another one. So when you are on an antibiotic, and like I said, I encourage people to get on a probiotic just to help to replenish the good bacteria in your gut. Now, you can take this through natural sources like we talked about, yogurt, cottage cheese, that sort of thing. But you can also, especially if you're a non-dairy person, you can get on a probiotic. And my patients always ask me, what do you recommend? And I always say, ask your pharmacist, because I have no idea what they have on their shelves. And the pharmacist should know what they're selling, and they most likely will have one that they recommend over others. Some good things to look for are, the number of cultures. Some of them say they have like 2 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion cultures. And obviously the more cultures, the more potent the medication or the supplement, I should say. And then you want to look for one that is going to make it past your stomach, because a lot of the medication, a lot of the microbes can be denatured in the stomach itself, because that's what your stomach does. It basically starts the breaking down process. And what you want is for those probiotics to make it into your small intestines and then make their way down to the large intestines as well. So those are a few things to look at. One that has like a timed release, so it's not getting just eaten up in the gut itself or the stomach itself. The other thing that's super important is prebiotics. And I know some of the probiotics say that they have prebiotics in them, but the best source of prebiotics and probiotics is actually in good old-fashioned fresh fruits and vegetables. So organic is always best if you can afford it, and There are lists out there on the internet that talk about which things are most important for you to have organically, like what's worth your money. I won't go into that here today, but I'll just say this, that anything that has been treated with chemically with a pesticide or herbicide, it basically it degrades the natural probiotics and prebiotics that are on our food. So prebiotics are the things that the probiotics need to eat in order to produce the things that they produce, like our serotonin. And so the prebiotics are things that are on our foods naturally. They are the raw vegetables and raw fruits have these things on them. But when they're treated with pesticides and herbicides, like I said, they lose some of that good, rich nutrition that your probiotics need. So yes, organic is best if you can afford it. Look for local farm stands, and backyard gardens are a great idea. I know we're coming to the end of this in the northern hemisphere here, but it's always best to have good organic soil to grow your fruits and veggies in, and to eat foods that are produced by that. So another thing I wanted to talk about is another thing I wanted to talk about is our relationship with our brain to our gut. So it's crazy to think about. I mentioned a little bit ago that between 70 and 95% of our serotonin is produced in our gut. And so a lot of people get on these SSRIs, which is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And like an SRI or SSRI, which is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And these basically are so that there's more serotonin floating around in your brain so that you don't feel depressed. It helps with anxiety and that sort of thing. So these are drugs like Zoloft, like Lexapro, that sort of thing. And they are considered antidepressant medications because they selectively, so an SSRI is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And that's a big mouthful to say that it's a drug that inhibits the reuptake of serotonin. And so there's more circulating in the synapses that your brain needs in order to have that happy feeling and that calm that you would have for when you have enough serotonin. So what if your gut is not producing enough serotonin to begin with? Maybe that's the source of all this. And that is actually what some scientists are now, and medical researchers are now addressing, is looking at medications that they're calling selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors are a widely used type of medication that are mainly prescribed for people that have depression or anxiety. And some of these are things like Celexa, Lexapro, Prozac, Paxil. These are just one type of medication that is used to treat things like depression or anxiety. But our gut, actually, like I said, it produces up to 95% of our serotonin. That is, our total body serotonin is produced in our gut, which is unreal to me. So what's happening because of this, there are a new class of probiotics that people are researching called psychomicrobiotics, and they are specifically designed for embracing the many healthcare. They are being looked at by healthcare practitioners as a non-toxic intervention for various types of psychiatric conditions. And some research has even been done with probiotics on autism, which is just fascinating to me. If you can fix a child's gut, you might be able to help them with their cognitive function. So one of the things that's really interesting about the gut, there's a condition called C. diff or C. difficile. It's a bacterial infection that you can get in your gut. And they have actually used like what I call a poop transplant, which is actually an encapsulated stool from somebody who has a good gut biome in order to recolonize these people that are suffering from the C. diff, which causes chronic diarrhea, fever, cramping, and you can actually die of dehydration because you're losing so much of your fluid through your gut, through the diarrhea. And it sounds really disgusting, but that's what they do. They actually, other than treating somebody with antibiotics like vancomycin, that sort of thing, they actually have people that donate their poop. They actually, there's a rigorous health assessment they have to go through in order to be somebody who donates their poop to people that are going to be using it to recolonize their gut. Anyway, aside from that, that reminds me, a side note, the really interesting thing, and kind of shows us how important that the gut biome is baby bunnies. They actually will eat their mother's feces. And the reason that they do this is it not only does it has these nutrients that they cannot fully digest on their own, it helps to colonize their own digestive tracts with the healthy gut bacteria, which is essential for a bunny digestion. Bunnies eat a lot of fibrous plants, and they need that to actually break down the things that they're eating. So just goes to show you how important that the gut biome is. It's really just a fascinating topic. I know that things got a little bit poopy here at the end, but just food for thought. Just keep in mind this, anytime you get on an antibiotic, you might want to consider getting on a probiotic. Of course, reach out to your physician, your family physician, and talk to them about what their recommendations would be, and consider changing your diet and including more fresh fruits and vegetables. It is the staple of my diet, and I have felt so much better since I changed my diet. I was having a lot of gut issues, and I did something called the gut protocol, where I cut out dairy and gluten and corn and alcohol and artificial sweeteners, and holy cow, I felt so much better. I started sleeping better. I didn't have the bloating and the gas and the upset stomach, and it really has helped me. So if you want more information about that, go ahead and DM me, and I will send you over kind of the list of foods that I incorporated in my plan that I did that helped me to feel better. I hope that you found this informative. I hope that this brings joy to your life, because man, a bad tummy ache can really spoil your day quick. And I don't want you to have to deal with this anymore. I think it's so important that we are healthy inside and out, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. And I feel that is so important, and it's a big part of us finding our unstoppable joy. Have a great rest of your week. Be blessed. Hey, before you go, make sure you click and subscribe to the podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Leave us a review. That would be so helpful to have other people find this podcast. Also, head on over to my website, KathrynMcAdam.com, where you can find all kinds of information about the things I'm doing, how to book me as a speaker, and you can find all the happenings of what I'm up to these days. And leave your prayer requests for me. I would love to cover you in prayer. Go ahead and click the link in the show notes. Hope to see you there. Be blessed.